This is Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
It's the Morning Majlis.
It's the Morning Majlis.
Welcome back to the Morning Majlis. We're talking the latest developments from Sharjah, from the region, and from around the world. And we have so much to discuss here. The latest developments with regards to TikTok versus the United States. TikTok has fired back at the Trump administration over the ban in the country, called it an election ploy and a politics-riddled move. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty of it all. What has TikTok said? How has the Trump administration responded? And speaking of the Trump administration, we're amidst the Republican National Convention in the United States. Over 4 days, the Republican Party is making its case to voters across the country, and President Donald Trump has been formally nominated. So we'll talk about his Republican National Convention speech, what he has said. It's been described as laced with attacks against his enemies. So stay tuned for that discussion, plus more stories from this region.
Absolutely. We will be speaking about what went down in a high-level meeting which took place at the Sharjah Commerce and Tourism Development Authority's headquarters here in Sharjah. And this discussion in the meeting mainly revolved around boosting the tourism sector in Sharjah and also the prominent tourism programs and initiatives that were launched in the Emirate as new plans and flexible packages to support key economic sectors were also unveiled during this meeting. And also, they spoke about ways to promote tourism during this post-COVID-19 phase.
I'm very sad at the moment.
Why?
I'm gutted because I didn't drive here with the BMW X2.
Oh.
Even though I made a good purchase during the Sharjah shopping promotions, I was very unfortunate to be not driving it. But those lucky ones who've been cruising in and around Sharjah on their BMW X2, I hope you enjoy the ride, and it'll be nice if you can let us borrow the car for a day. But it is going to be something that we're talking about because the figures have been released by the Sharjah Chamber of Commerce and Industry to talk about the Sharjah shopping promotions and how they have concluded with very, very high figures. Lucrative returns on the retail sector is what they have described it as. It is going to be a fruitful discussion, so stay tuned to Pulse 95. We'll continue the discussions, and if you are interested in lending us that car, 4215 is the text line for you to get involved. Stay tuned to the Morning Majlis.
Join the conversation with the Morning Majlis. Pulse 95.
Yes, join the conversation. Text us at 4215. We go over to the United States for our coverage of the Republican National Conventions. 4 days in which the United States Republican presidential nominee is named, and that is President Donald Trump officially right now. And over these 4 days, they're important because the Republican Party is essentially making its case to voters. And that's what's been happening. A lot of strong rhetoric coming from President Donald Trump launching the convention week with a big talk against his rivals from 4 years ago and with warnings about the system and what could happen to him in his second term.
Yeah, his surprise appearance at the Republican National Convention yesterday as party members formally nominated him in a roll call on the opening day of convention. He received 2,550 delegates' votes unanimously, making him the party nominee. Now, delegates convened in Charlotte, North Carolina for a roll call vote during which they officially cast votes to renominate Vice President Mike Pence and Trump, who arrived in North Carolina shortly before that vote. Now, the president, without evidence, repeated his claim that Democrats are trying to rig the election with fraudulent mail-in ballots. And the president also said the Democrats are also using COVID-19 to steal the election. He continued by saying they are trying to steal the election just like they did it last time with spying.
Yeah, and to elaborate on that, the whole mail-in fiasco, on Saturday, the House passed legislation, that's the House of Representatives, to inject $25 billion into the Postal Service.
Yeah.
So the controversy here is there have been a spat of coast-cutting measures introduced by the head of the Postal Service, Postmaster General Louis DeJoy. He said it's necessary to shore up the Postal Service's finances, But Democrats said that this would make mail-in voting extremely difficult, nigh even impossible for some states, and determined that the best course of action was to intervene and let the mail-in system proceed. Now, of course, Rania expressed the differing views that President Donald Trump has on the Postal Service. Trump himself had been quoted saying, if you can protest, then you can vote in person. But the fact that coronavirus continues to wage across the United States makes mail-in voting a more appealing option for voters there. But that was just a quick recap on what is happening as far as back and forth accusations on the role of the Postal Service in the elections.
It's worrying because it's not off to the brightest and the most confident of all starts. Trump has always appeared as a very, very confident figure saying, it's all downplaying any sort of allegation, downplaying any sort of remarks. But this time round, things appear to have changed. It was a very different Republican Party conference. And he is also due to speak later on this week, and it is
on Thursday.
Yeah, on Thursday. It is unusual for candidates to address the convention before the formal acceptance speech, but this is POTUS we're talking about. President of the United States, Donald Trump, a very confident man usually, but sadly this time round he's not been on the best of full forms. Republicans said their Monday night's theme was Land of Promise and pledged their convention would be less negative than the Democrats' conference last week, but many of the Republican speakers warned in doom-laden tones that what would happen to America if Americans voted in a President Biden and his Democrats. Another interesting quote came from Matt Gaetz, who said, it's going to be a horror movie if Democrats win the White House. They'll disarm you, empty the prisons, lock you in your home, and it is going to be something that they're going to also open up migration. So that's another aspect that they talked about. But it's going to be very interesting to see how the polls line up, and are the stars going to be aligned for President of the United States? That's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, pretty interesting to see. And what you noted, that sense of pressure, the crumbling of confidence is definitely due to the United States experiencing a troubling, tumultuous period with the raging of the coronavirus, with protests across the country. It's a divisive time for the United States, and a polarizing time indeed. And we'll certainly be keeping you posted on all those developments and how the election fares, and the Republican National Convention as well, which is ongoing and going to be the subject of great discussion from news outlets.
It should be, but looking at the whole situation at the moment, from what we've seen over the past few months, it's always been this trend of PRism that tends to get that election and votes in, because initially when we talk about the elections way back in 2016, not many people expected the incumbent president to even win that election, but it was a huge PR stint that actually got him the results. And I was in fact cut off from the world of internet. I was on a train from Munich to Berlin, and the train didn't have any sort of internet connection. I had no clue what was going on, and I actually thought that President Donald Trump will lose, and he did win. And that really shook a lot of people. But now I think the Democrats have been flexing their muscle quite a bit, especially with Kamala Harris's nomination. It's got that little bit of an inch to maybe get that PRism ahead, and it seems like the tables might be turning.
Well, despite that, I feel like he will be reelected.
Oh, there we go. Reelected.
It is a pretty interesting situation. I mean, the polls peg Joe Biden as the winner of this.
Right.
But it's quite early. I mean, the polls had pegged, for instance, Hillary Clinton to win the previous election.
True.
And there's still a lot ahead of us as far as debates, events, and talks are concerned. And a debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, we'd have to see how that would go.
Well, there was a bit of a sentiment over in India as well that Prime Minister Modi might not get re-elected, but he did. So
Right.
There you go.
So there you go. It's all about the
How
popularity.
the tables turn. Yeah.
Are the tables going to turn? Join the debate if you'd like. Text lines will remain open 4215 because we're having another debate later on in the program. It's all about packed concert halls because one country has decided that that's the best solution to fight the spread of COVID-19. Slightly baffling, but let's see what happens. Well, stay tuned. We'll be right back after the short break. And when we come back, it's going to be another sad story. I'm not driving the BMW X2. Someone out there is. Sharjah Shopping Promotions winners. We'll talk about the sales figures in terms of what's happening. But let us know if you are driving that BMW X2 and you'd like to lend us that car for...
You gave up on your green machine? Come on.
Maybe. The X2 was very, very attractive. Well, we'll be right back. Stay tuned to Morning Majlis and we'll continue the discussions right here on Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
The Morning Majlis. Talking the stories that are shaping headlines. This is Pulse 95.
This is Pulse 95. Good morning. Welcome back to the program. And we're talking the state of tourism here at this time of the year with the update that Bali has banned tourists.
Yes, they have. Foreign tourists won't be allowed to visit Bali for the rest of 2020 due to the COVID-19 concerns. They are scrapping a plan to open up the Indonesian island from next month. It's a sad reality, really. I mean, the holiday hotspot had reopened beaches, other tourism hotspots for the domestic visitors at the end of July, and it was planning on letting foreign tourists return on the 11th of September. But that plan has now been cancelled over the concerns surrounding Indonesia's mounting virus cases and really is affecting a lot of people's holiday plans.
Absolutely. Jakarta is also yet to lift its ban on foreign tourists entering Indonesia. Now, the situation in Indonesia is not conducive to allow international tourists to visit Indonesia, including Bali, which is... a great touristy location for many people. Now, the central government supports Bali's plans to recover tourism by opening the doors for international tourists. However, this requires care and not to be rushed, and also requires careful preparation.
It does, and this is going to be a major hit to Bali as well because over 6 million foreign tourists visited Bali last year. This accounts for more than a third of Indonesia's total visitors. And back in April, the government warned that the pandemic could wipe out more than $10 billion of Indonesia's tourism revenue. This forecast is likely to worsen now because it assumed back then that there would be some recovery in the second half, but the situation is looking more grim in the country. As of now, the local government said it will focus on increasing the number of domestic visitors to try and get something together and help prop up the ailing tourism industry and economy.
Yeah, I think it's just somewhat of you got to understand that, look, it's just not going to happen, really. When it comes to tourism, it's not going to go back to normal, and there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be upset about that. Their plans of going to Bali or their plans of going to that part of the world are going to be affected. But Thailand is another country that is considering reopening for international tourists. It's said by October they will allow the tourists to return, which is going to be good news. But it will be very interesting to see what happens over the next few weeks, and it's floating the idea of it, but there's no set guarantee and announcement yet to when they're going to be opening up. But in terms of travel advice, in terms of where people can go, Rania?
Oh, so many places actually have opened up. We know since July.
Okay.
Really, yeah. The list goes on, but it starts with Austria, the Bahamas, Barbados, actually, Belgium, Brazil. Brazil is opening up even without even the 14-day mandatory quarantine.
Okay. Brazil, out of all places.
I love it. I don't know.
No.
Costa Rica, as I said, Egypt earlier, France, Finland, Greece, among this list. It just keeps going on and on. Even Italy, Jamaica, Maldives.
Maldives is cool.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to understand this. the second highest rates of coronavirus, Brazil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3.6 million
It's
cases.
opening up.
And it says you can come in, no problem.
Without any
No need for 14 days
Yeah.
as well.
That's a big part of the problem overall in Brazil.
Right.
Let's not get started.
115,000 deaths as well, tragically. But
Yeah.
and they're saying it's okay. It's you come on over. No.
Tunisia?
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I would go to Tunisia.
Yeah. Island destinations.
Seychelles.
Seychelles is open. Great. Maldives. Okay. Well, there's a lot of people who, despite the pandemic, have been tying the knot and have been thinking, I want to go there for our first trip together. But sadly, don't have much choice anymore. I mean, Bali is a very popular destination.
Yeah.
So is Australia. So is Seychelles and Mauritius and Sri Lanka.
Cyprus?
Okay.
Yeah.
Pencil that
Greece.
in. Greece as well, which is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else?
Well.
We have the Bahamas, I said, as well.
Mm-hmm.
Where would you want to go?
Where would I want to go? Staycation.
The next. No. If you were to travel now.
If I were to travel and choose where to quarantine for a couple of days, or let's say 2 weeks, I'd choose Zimbabwe.
Come on.
It's cheap. Inflation, it's okay. It's fine. It's go down and go for
You
a bit
have
of
a point. You
You'll
have
be
a
a
point.
trillionaire there.
Yeah, have a bit of a safari. Why not?
Ahmed?
I'm gonna go Zimbabwe too.
No
Yeah,
way.
I have to. It's amazing.
What is going on, guys?
Yeah, exactly. Victoria Falls,
Nice.
get a picture.
That's where it's at.
Yeah, got to imagine things. But yes, it's going to be a wonderful world of travel, and we're looking forward to getting back on track. And we shall be returning with these discussions. Up next, we shall be talking about looking to the stars, because not only are we awaiting the Sahel star to make a massive appearance, but we're also talking about a giant asteroid which is headed towards the planet Earth, and it's going to come in 2029. Scientists are already worrying about it. What's happening? We'll keep you posted about this right here on the Morning Majlis.
95.
The Morning Majlis, talking the stories that are shaping headlines. This is Pulse 95.
This is Pulse 95. Looking to the stars.
Yes.
Reaching out for the stars.
Reaching out for the stars.
Yeah.
People know that the Mars Hope probe mission has been doing well. It's well on track. But
Traveled fifth of his journey.
yes,
already?
it has. It has.
In 1 month, yeah.
Very good. Very impressive.
Very impressive.
And we're very proud of that as well. However, things are not looking that great for the year 2029.
Yeah, it's 2020 keeps getting wilder. We have coronavirus going on right now. A lot of economies are reeling, unrest around the world. And now we have an asteroid zooming towards us. And yes, this celestial object is known as 2018 VP1, is projected to come close to Earth on November 2nd, according to the Center for Near-Earth Objects Studies at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. We've got an asteroid flying our way.
Okay, the funny, no, I wouldn't say it's a funny thing. It's European Space Agency says, because, I've been hearing about these asteroids coming to the Earth, and you think, it's going to come close, the atmosphere is going to destroy it, it's going to burn out wherever, right?
Scary just thinking about it.
The European Space Agency says this asteroid is traveling at 29,000 miles per hour on that day.
Wow.
Even though NASA says it doesn't pose a threat to Earth.
They say that. But 29,000. If I chuck, let's say, a feather at that speed, if it can travel that fast, it might hurt. But imagine a massive asteroid that is 46 feet wide, traveling at that speed. And yeah, that won't be that will leave you more than just a bruise. So we have to tell you that. It has been added to the risk list, and the asteroid, however, is one of the space rocks with the highest probability of colliding against Earth compared to others on that risk list. Although the asteroid is unlikely to cause major damage due to its size, it could consequently create a powerful airburst, is what they're expecting.
Well, 2020 PG6, which they measured on August 13th, measures 14 meters in diameter, approximately 46 feet wide. So, and the ESA is currently monitoring the asteroid and has estimated the date of impact to be on August 31st, 2029. We still have time. And according to the ESA, the chances of 2020 PG6 crashing against the planet are one out of 416. And this asteroid, however, is one of the space rocks with the highest probability of colliding against Earth compared to the others on the said list.
2013, there was a 65-foot-long asteroid that entered the Earth's atmosphere. It burned in the atmosphere, exploded over the city of Chelyabinsk in Russia, and the shock waves it sent was to at least 30 atomic bombs. 1,200 people were injured.
Yeah.
So it's no joke.
7,000 buildings were damaged. Yep.
So, if they do explode in midair, they produce a massive shockwave. So it is something to worry about. But for the time being, 2029 is far away. We're dealing with a pandemic.
We would like to think so.
Yeah, we're dealing with asteroids within our own world. 23,655,518 cases have been registered. These are not active cases, mind you. These are the cases that have been registered so far across the globe. But it's going to be interesting to see how we deal with our own asteroid in the form of COVID-19. But for the time being,
let's celebrate the Hope Probe.
Let's celebrate the Hope Probe.
There you go. That's it. I love it.
On a brighter note.
Inject some positivity.
Exactly.
Giant leap here in the country's space technologies and hope. Opening new horizons towards other space missions. So which
is good.
Yeah.
Ideal scenario. Well, time now for us to pave the way for musical entertainment. Morning Majlis shall return tomorrow morning bright and early as we will continue the discussions, and we'll be keeping you posted and informed throughout the day. And it will be Future Talk that will take over from 2 p.m. And you can catch most of our shows live on YouTube plus podcasts. Where can they catch them?
Yes, head over to SoundCloud, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts.
Yep, absolutely. And listen to what we discussed. And if you didn't get a chance to watch us live from 7 to 10 on YouTube, you can do so because we will be uploading episodes for our show and all the other shows after we're done.
After we're done, indeed. Yep. Well, stay tuned. We'll be back again tomorrow morning, 7 a.m.
Pulse 95. You're listening to Pulse 95. Pulse 95.
It's Pulse 95.